Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2026 Speakers Inc. Summer Virtual Showcase Series. In case you are wondering who this fine specimen of a human creation is, my name is Lerato Ditshego, a certified 10 out of 10, the undisputed head girl in charge. I am an entrepreneur, a speaker, and a facilitator. I am joined by the phenomenal Mpho Matsitse, an award-winning global keynote speaker and one of Africa's leading voices on leadership, strategy, and digital transformation. A Harvard-certified executive and inspirational leader of the year, he has spent over 15 years helping organizations and governments worldwide, uniting people, technology, and purpose in order to drive growth in an AI-powered world. Recognized amongst Africa's most influential leaders in tech and business, Mpho has delivered an incredible transformative keynotes at platforms such as the UN OGP Summit, IceGov, Gartner Symposiums, and IT Web. His insights fuse commercial strategy, human-centered leadership, and digital foresight, challenging leaders to harness uniqueness, build impact, and lead with clarity in a world shaped by algorithms. So his keynote is titled, Staying Ahead or Staying Human in an AI-Driven World and Led World. It is a bold keynote for leaders who are facing rapid technological acceleration. As intelligent systems start to shape decisions and strategy, true advantage lies not in technology, but in humanity. Drawing on his experience leading digital transformation across Africa, Mpho shows how leaders can safeguard trust, empathy, ethics, and purpose while harnessing AI. He reframes leadership from being the smartest in the room to being the most self-aware, adaptable, and values-driven. This talk offers a practical playbook for staying human in a world that thinks for itself and calls leaders to act with courage, clarity, and conscience in the age of algorithms. Mpho, over to you. We are excited for your keynote.
Thank you, Lerato. Thank you very much. And good morning, everybody, and welcome to the speaker series. As Lerato introduced, my name is Mpho Matsitse, and over the next 12 or so minutes, we'll be exploring a topic that is really close to my heart, and I'm sure is top of mind for most leaders, and that's staying human in an AI-driven and led world. We now live, work, and play in a world where we need to navigate unprecedented technological acceleration, where intelligent systems are increasingly shaping decisions, how we live, how we work, and how we engage in multiple different environments. The real competitive advantage here is no longer technology itself, but it is humanity. So over the next 12 or so minutes, what we'll be exploring is really three key elements that I want to have a conversation with you this morning. One is, what is AI really changing? And two is, what is the human leadership gap that we are witnessing, and how is it impacting us each day? And we'll close off with talking about what are the three key rules for staying human in an AI-led world. So let's get into it. Firstly, let's come onto the same page around what is AI. And simply defined, it's a system that learns from vast amounts of information and then uses this learning to answer questions, make decisions, and help us as people and organizations. Now, AI is not new. Everybody. It has been introduced just under 70 years ago in 1956. And what's really new is the computing power that we now have as a society in order to enable its growth and its evolution. So AI is not here to replace leaders, but it's actually here to replace a certain kind of leadership. The old style, the one where a leader has all the answers, controlling all the information, being the smartest person in the room. That era of leadership is really gone, if not fast eroding. What the new battlefield is not run us when it comes to that. But what the new battlefield will be is trust. It's going to be ethics. It's going to be speaking to emotional intelligence and ensuring that we as leaders have the courage to lead with humanity where algorithms say otherwise. Leaders will win by asking better questions, not by having a better memory. They'll win by managing people's fears, but not managing a spreadsheet. They'll win by setting specific ethical guidelines that AI cannot create for itself. Because after all, AI was created by humans for humans. And the more intelligent our machines become, the more intentional our humanity must be. Because in moments where data is right, but the decision itself feels wrong, AI is not going to save your culture, your customers, or even your credibility. Only leadership will. So when we talk about AI in itself transforming the world, I need you to remember that the real transformation is happening in the leadership domain. It's not the replacement of leaders, but the redefinition of what great leadership looks like, what the future of leadership should feel like, and how people should in itself be thinking about how to harness and engage AI. I'm sure all of you are exploring new ways of adopting AI into your own organizations and even adopting it in your own lives. So when we speak about this human leadership gap, then Paul, what do we mean? Right? So we've explored what AI is and how it's impacting the changing dynamic of leadership. But what we also need to understand is, why is this important? How is this specific leadership gap widened, and what it means for the future way of work? Now, AI delivers answers so fast, so confidently, that most leaders stop interrogating, they stop contextualizing, and they stop using the AI judgment, their own judgment. Because I'm sure all of you have heard of the concept AI hallucination. That is a real thing. The danger there is very subtle. When leaders outsource thinking, they outsource responsibility. And AI becomes the strategist, and the leader becomes the validator. And that is not leadership. That is just supervision of algorithms. We cannot function in a world where we outsource responsibility of leadership. The second friction point is a far more deeper and more human impact, because many teams, and I'm sure you've witnessed this in your own organizations, are being impacted by the automation anxiety, which is creating a lot of uncertainty around psychological safety. People are asking themselves, where do I fit? What does my role look like for the future? Will my value still matter in those organization? And if, as leaders, we don't communicate intentionally, uncertainty then becomes fear. And that fear becomes disengagement. And there is absolutely no AI model that can fix a culture where people feel that they are replaceable. The third friction point is that it sits really at the cusp of the customer. In a digital first world, we now know that empathy is now the new competitive advantage. Yes, customers want everything at the speed of light. And I mean, us as customers expect that of our own service providers, but we must also know that customers expect understanding. They expect fairness. They expect a high sense of humanity. So those chatbots, maybe not too much of a worthwhile investment, right? And maybe something to think about how to make them more engaging. The more digital our systems are becoming, the more human our interactions must feel. Because when everything is automated, the smallest human interaction is what's going to make all the difference. And finally, the one friction point that keeps me awake, and I'm sure a lot of boardrooms awake, is the one that looks at ethics. See, ethics has now moved from being an academic debate to being a business risk. One flawed algorithm, one biased output, one automated decision that harms a person, and that reputational damage is going to be very immediate, and it's going to be extremely severe. Leaders cannot afford ethical ignorance. It must be operational and not optional. And finally, we have to then look at what are the three rules then for staying human then? What do we do in a world where the single most important strategic priority now that any organization, public or private, has is really closing that human leadership gap? So the three rules. Firstly, do not outsource your conscience. Very important, and it speaks really to the human side of how we engage. AI can optimize decisions, but it cannot carry responsibility. Leaders still need to interrogate, they still need to challenge, they still need to override algorithms, and they need to make the best human decision for humans. Because after all, AI was created by people for people. The second rule is that we need to lead with clarity, not certainty. I mean, in a world where change is extremely rapid, there's absolutely no way that we're going to be able to adapt at that kind of speed. Transparency is what's going to build trust because algorithms and technology is introducing even more and more ambiguity into our world. So the world is changing far too fast for any of us to adapt. And that's why we need to lead with clarity so that there's always a focal point that leaders are leading. The third rule really rests when it comes to culture, and that is building cultures that value people and not just performance. See, technology scales output in many ways, but only humans can scale creativity, they can scale empathy and possibility. Only humans can behave in such a way. And we need to create the kind of environments that encourage a culture of creativity, of ingenuity, and of a human-led engagement. So technology will continue transforming. AI will continue learning as well. So the question is, will we, and I say we because I include myself as well, as leaders, continue feeling, reflecting, and acting with humanity? Because staying human is no longer the soft part of leadership. It is a strategic differentiator and extremely important. So if you'd allow me, I'd actually like to play a quick video for the audience. Let me just...
Emma. Huh? Emma.
Not anymore.
Emma.
Every day it's getting on my nerves.
Emma.
Oh, I'm
Emma.
begging you,
Emma.
leave me alone.
So you see, ladies and gentlemen, when toilet paper runs out, we are all affected, and technology is not the answer to everything. So I hope this morning, in closing, you lead with your humanity, you put your people first, and ensure that you engage in a culture where the leadership of the future is one that's in creating engagement, encouraging creativity, and ensuring the courage to lead and make better decisions for humanity. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, congratulations, Mpho. That was absolutely brilliant. The inclusion of that video at the end just contextualized everything so beautifully. What a beautiful expression of humanity still being at the epicenter of our lives. My gosh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Thank you. You were incredible. I also thought it was a very, very well thought out delivery. Loved the refreshing take on leadership in the face of transformation. You did indicate that we should see leadership as not being the smartest person in the room, but as a call to become the most self-aware, the most adaptable and values-driven. That for me was incredibly, incredibly strong. I don't think I've ever heard it being expressed that way. On that note, I want to double click on that a little bit. What practices do you believe cultivate self-awareness, adaptability, and values-driven? Because we say it, but how do we begin to cultivate those types of traits?
So I think leadership is really bound on one thing, right? And that's purpose. So as leaders, we need to be very clear around what our purpose is. And when we have that kind of clarity, we're very clear then on what our passions are. We're very clear then on what our personality traits are. And we are then able to carve out a path that actually ultimately answers that. So I call that model the 4Ps, right? I don't have a better name, but essentially what's key is that as leaders, we need to very quickly discover what our purpose is, because it is a calling. It is one where we focus on how we lead people and how we serve others. And if we are not clear on who we are, what we stand for, what we are grounded by, we are unable to then chart a path for everybody else to follow. So I think that's exactly where it starts.
It starts with self-awareness.
Yep.
And okay, I understand. Thank you for that. If a leader had to implement one immediate behavioral shift tomorrow to stay a lot more human in this AI-driven world, what should that be?
Emma.
Excuse me, sorry, just exiting this It's a distraction. Okay, sorry, Loretta, if you can just repeat that one.
Sure thing, no problem. So if a leader had to implement one immediate behavioral shift tomorrow to stay more human in an AI-driven workplace, what would that be? What would that behavioral shift look like?
So for me, it's one word. It's creativity, all right? And
I love
for
that.
me, creativity is grounded by three key things. One, you need to be curious. So you need to be asking yourself and asking a lot of questions, smart questions, better questions, to have a lot more insight. Creativity also looks at a certain level of governance because there's an ethical element that underlies all creativity in ensuring that whatever we build is not harming the next person, it's not harming organizations or even the P&L if that's what you're concerned about, but it's ensuring that it's driving the kind of outcomes and positive outcomes that we're trying to see. And it's also embedded on the fact that creativity in itself also looks at innovation. So how are we making systems, people, processes better in order to serve in a world that's quickly changing? So I think for me personally, the one key element that I encourage everybody to sort of look at is just have that curiosity and drive the engaged in creativity, because that's what's going to differentiate a lot of the competitive advantage for both leaders and for organizations of the future.
What I also loved what you said about what you said earlier on is that as it comes to, rather as it relates to leadership, we win by asking better questions and by understanding people's fears. That was incredible. And then that is fueled by curiosity, right? Curiosity would say, let me encourage you to explain, please explain or elaborate what you were just thinking there. And it also then speaks to, let me understand where your fear or your resistance or your hesitance is coming from as it relates to this particular task. So I absolutely found that to be very, very refreshing, Mpho. You've also spoken about leaders needing to override AI sometimes. And I'm then curious about, this is me being curious, I'm curious about what signals should executives be looking out for and when to know when to trust algorithms versus when to challenge it. Did I phrase that correctly for you?
No, it's a brilliant question, and I'm so glad you asked it as well. Because Loretta, what's happening now, especially with AI hallucination, is that there's a lot of fake and deep fake information on the internet, right? As we've heard the saying, don't believe everything you watch or see. So this is exactly what AI is doing. It's drawing from all information sources, multiple different databases, and it's assuming that what it's drawing from is true. You must also remember that AI is geared towards giving you a positive answer. All right. So if you've used any of the models, Gemini AI, ChatGPT, Copilot, whatever you want to call it, they are literally technically engineered to give you the right outcome. So every single time the answer sounds right. So if you're thinking of a pink elephant, that's exactly what AI is giving you, right? Because you just thought of it right now. And that's what we need to look out for, is we need to validate the sources that AI is pulling from. We need to then ask ourselves, is AI really just answering the question to, validate what it is that I'm thinking? Or is it really giving me the kind of insight that allows me to make multiple different assumptions, evaluations, and even considerations before making my ultimate decision? Because the more we believe AI and we just go with the flow is quickly where we start supervising algorithms. And remember, the input that you then give out to the world is going to be based on people following you as the leader, not what the AI tool told you. So this is very important in order to ensure that we are grounded in the kind of thinking as leaders that interrogates information, that really goes to find out, because gone are the days of the leader that has all the information, that has all the answers at the tip of their fingers. We need to be focusing a lot more now on finding out where did the answer come from? Is it the right answer for humanity? Is it going to harm us in the long run? Is it going to erode the kind of culture that we're trying to build? Is it going to erode our competitive advantage over the next 6 months or so, right? And these are some of the key things that we should be thinking about because they quickly happen. So I'll give you one example where I believe possibly an AI decision might have played a role. As we all know, our organization that provides television and media, MultiChoice, was recently acquired by Canal Plus, which is a French media company. And they are struggling in keeping the subscription in South Africa. And this is, sort of gone out into the media, etc. And recently, just yesterday, Netflix bought out Warner Brothers. So that merger has not gone through. So all programming that's streaming from Warner Brothers, all those productions, all those movies are now going to run via Netflix, which then gives Netflix a greater competitive advantage globally, but also in South Africa. So then what then remains the motivation to then still stream and watch? And I'm sure at the time, if you had asked AI, is this a good merger? Is this a good investment to make? You would have gotten exactly the answer that it's a good acquisition. You're bringing international programs into a local environment and you're going to encourage sort of subscriptionship, etc. But no one anticipated that Netflix would acquire it. That would be the question that a leader would have asked, not one that would have been assumed by AI. That's answering your current question. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. I thought to ask a question that is personal to me. I'm sure it would be personal to a couple of other people who are watching this as well. You spoke about the models as well, and you made a couple of examples. I personally use a lot of these models. So when I have call it a question that I have or wanting to rephrase something I'm trying to express, I immediately punch it into Gemini, into DeepSeek, into Claude, even Perplexity. But I have no idea why. I'm just trying to find different ways and expressions from the models. Is there a key call it offering that each one brings to the table? So should I be approaching them for just an understanding of the different perspectives, or is there one or two specific ones that I should particularly target in trying to gain clarity?
So look, I'm not a technical expert on the AI side of things, but more of a generalist and driving digital transformation. That's really my expertise. But I think what you're looking for is different perspectives that allow you to evaluate multiple different sets of information in order to make the right decision. So you're not outsourcing your thinking. You are using a tool that enables and encourages that kind of thinking in order to help you formulate a particular thought. And you're essentially doing what it is that I am encouraging. If you had one particular tool that you utilize and you sort of follow the outcome of that tool, then you would have outsourced your thinking. But what I like about what you're saying is that you are evaluating multiple different sources in order to see, are you getting the kind of perspective that is in line with where your thinking is? And does it then give you the sort of insight that allows you to make a better decision of what your next sort of steps would be? And that is what we are saying and what we're encouraging. AI is a very, very powerful tool when it's utilized the right way. And that is through evaluation, through questioning, through interrogating. Is what you're getting as an answer aligned to where your thinking is? And does it help you then make the next decision, but not make the decision for you?
I like that, because you did speak about being intentional and not outsourcing that responsibility. So the intentionality comes in being curious to say, I wonder what this outcome would look like versus that outcome, and then using my own humanity to decide based on what is being presented, what would work for me and what is the outcome that I'm looking for. That's what you're saying, right?
Certain, that is what we're saying. Because, there is a talk that I'm yet to watch that came out on YouTube. I think it's part of the Diary of the CEO series with Stephen Bartlett. And what it speaks to is that AI is quickly eroding the human mind, right? So basically the power of thinking as humans is eroding because of AI. And it erodes where we stop asking questions. It erodes where we stop using our own intuition, our own guidance, our own humanity in order to make decisions, right? I mean, one of the key things that AI for me has really touched is that it hasn't fundamentally changed the world. And hear me out here. Firstly, we discovered the wheel, right? As humans, as a society, we discovered the wheel. And that changed everything forever, because there's no movement that the wheel does not use, whether it's in your watch, or whether it's in your car, etc. It has fundamentally changed the world. Secondly, we discovered that the world is not flat. That really just changed our outlook on life altogether and allowed us to really explore travel, even space travel, and even engage outside. So those two things have fundamentally changed who we are as humanity. Has AI really done that? Or is AI just helping us aggregate vast amounts of complex data in order to simplify it to allow for greater clarity in making decisions? I don't think AI, for me personally, has re-engineered the human psyche in such a way that it would have the same effect as the wheel or discovering that the world is no longer flat. I think we are at the cusp of AI, where we're sort of all in the playing field across the globe, exploring multiple different models, but we still, primary duty of AI is collecting vast amounts of data, processing it in such a way that we're able to then make complex decisions much faster and with a lot more insight. But it hasn't re-engineered how we behave and work, live, and play as humans, not as yet.
Mpho, your last parting words as it relates to the subject, what would that be?
So thank you so much. And I appreciate everybody for watching. I think the speaker series is incredible. Thank you to Duncan and yourself and the team. I think my parting words would be stay curious, stay engaging, and stay innovative as a leader. Your place in the world is still extremely important, and we need people to be guiding, navigating, and helping people work through the complexity that and the ambiguity that technology is actually creating. So I hope you are a safe space for your people, that you allow for the kind of psychological safety that builds powerful cultures that ultimately create that competitive advantage that you are looking for. So thank you so much. Appreciate the time.
Thank you very much, Mpho. You were absolutely incredible. A lot of what you said, I actually got to experience yesterday at an event that I was doing, and they were quite literally recognizing, star performers for FY 2024-2025. And that is the culture that you are encouraging right now. Just seeing people's spirits come alive as they are being recognized and celebrated was awe-inspiring. So thank you very much. You were absolutely amazing. Do enjoy the rest of your day as well.
Thank you, Lorato. Thank you, Duncan. Thank you, team.
Now, to learn more about Mpho Matsitse, please do visit Speakers Inc. on www.speakersinc.co.za. And to book this phenomenal speaker, go ahead and send an email to the team at info@speakersinc.co.za. To our viewers, thank you for watching.